I have not wanted to share this information because I didn't believe it and I didn't want to believe it. In the world of online communities, trust can be a precious commodity, especially within support communities like the SPTV community. It's particularly unsettling when someone deceitfully infiltrates a community of cult and trauma survivors, perpetuating falsehoods and attempting to manipulate the very people who have already weathered the manipulative tactics of cults themselves. It is without a doubt unacceptable. Unfortunately, that has taken place here in the SPTV community. Goldie's story begins innocuously enough as far as we know. She entered the ex-Scientology YouTube community with apparent good intentions, offering her services as a moderator for all of the most prominent channels and dozens of smaller ones. Her initial involvement seemed genuine, driven by a desire to support a community of cult and trauma survivors. She set herself up as a trustworthy point of contact and a go-between for the ever-growing YouTube audience to communicate with the creators, and shared her email as a safe space on hundreds of live streams. Over the summer, concerns about Goldie's true identity and intentions began to surface. It was discovered that Goldie had a dark and troubling history of offensive and extremist social media posts. These posts, filled with anti-trans, anti-vax, and flat earth conspiracy theories, raised serious red flags. The initial expose, however, came from an individual already reviled by the community for his own misogynistic attacks and widely suspected to either be associated with or influenced by Scientology's Office of Special Affairs, which made discussing the issue without lending credence to him really challenging. What I think is essential to note here is that regardless of who first brought this to light, Goldie has herself confirmed the authenticity of the social media profile that he exposed. SPTV being the compassionate and tolerant recovery space that it is, one highly respected SPTV creator reached out to Goldie. When confronted with a small sample of the posts, Goldie confirmed that they were hers and apologized, but also claimed that she had mindlessly reposted the 2 to 3 offensive posts that were used as examples and said that she would remove them as they do not align with her actual beliefs. Everyone wanted to believe her. But the truth revealed a more disturbing picture. Between November of 2021 and July of 2023, she posted or reposted 28,000 times, an average of around 38 posts per day on that particular social media site every single day, rarely deviating from the aforementioned concerning themes. Goldie's attempts to downplay her actions might have succeeded had she simply deleted her account on this obscure social media platform she professed to use infrequently, to the point of forgetting it existed. Instead, she selectively deleted the posts that she was questioned about, along with hundreds of others, and edited captions on even more to remove slurs and reframe her intentions behind sharing certain memes. Shit hit the fan for Goldie during the first week of October when a community member contacted several prominent ex-Sea Org members and YouTube creators that Goldie works with, presenting them with Goldie's recent content from that website, now apparently in line with her supposed sincere beliefs following the removal of the offensive posts that she had disowned. Goldie swiftly attempted to label the controversy as ZDT drama, claiming in a heads-up email to a few larger creators that it was manufactured or influenced by Scientology's Office of Special Affairs. She was well aware that many of the recipients of these emails had been personally targeted by OSA and would feel inclined to sympathize with her, believing she was going through something similar. In a classic manipulation tactic, as soon as she sensed that the issue wasn't going away, she tried to take control of the narrative by admitting to the offenses for which there was clear evidence while denying everything else. SPTV creators who have taken the time or had the time to examine the evidence of Goldie's concerning online behavior have removed her as a moderator, including those who had considered her a close friend. As the consequences began to cascade, Goldie composed an email addressed to members of the SPTV community. The email recipients were all BCC'd, so only Goldie knows how many individuals received it. Through her self-proclaimed role as an SPTV gatekeeper, she has undoubtedly amassed hundreds of emails linked to the community. The email Goldie sent out on October 8th, 2023 is a pivotal moment in this controversy. I think analyzing it through the lens of authoritarian control, we can discern elements of behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotion control at play. Her email sought to manipulate the narrative, deflect responsibility, and evoke sympathy from the community. It eerily echoed Scientology's control tactics as she apologized for something entirely different from the accusations leveled against her, something far easier to forgive. In doing so, she painted anyone who didn't forgive her for this ambiguously defined offense as judging her for her political and religious beliefs. So, I actually do think it's important to break down this email, but it's going to be hard for me to read. I already kind of read it and looked over it, and anyway, the subject line is current flap, and Goldie says, I thought it would be best to send this to anyone, everyone who's concerned about the current flap surrounding yours truly, or even if you haven't heard of it, just best to air it out. So, no telling how many people this email went to. I know I've emailed Goldie trying to get a hold of several different SPTV creators, so she probably has a shit ton of people's email addresses in the community. Pretty privileged information, and one of the reasons that I think it's really concerning that she's a moderator. She continues, a month or so ago, one of the content creators contacted me and asked me about a timeline on an obscure social media site no one's ever heard of, but I used to use. I haven't been on it in, I think, for a year or close to it. I've never been on Twitter or Facebook or any other social media, and I really should have just followed my instincts and kept it that way. So that person asked me if that was my profile. I said, sure, what's up? Obviously, I didn't feel like I had anything to hide. It's under my own name, FFS, for F's sake. The reason that I point that out is that had I posted something that I thought was hateful, don't you think I would have closed that account months ago after being so known on SPTV? There's nothing hateful there. If people don't like my politics, that's another matter. Then that person directed me to 2 particular reposts. So I went on that site for the first time, like I said, in nearly a year and found them. And guess what? They were crude and insensitive. I'm most definitely not going to give the details of the posts, as I'm already mortified enough that I could have been that insensitive in the first place. Anyway, that person had asked me if I would consider taking them down, and frankly, I couldn't wait to. I own my shit. The reposts were not hateful, in my humble opinion, but again, not at all nice. I should have realized how they would make me seem. So yeah, I took them down immediately. If you were to scroll that whole timeline, which lucky for us, we did, you would see that I can be all over the map, meaning that in one place you might see me rah-rahing for conservative politicals, and in others my purple hair, and wherever I stand on politics, I make no apology for that. We all have a right to think what we think, I think. Let me interject here. Can't interject when you're the one talking, by the way. That was me interjecting, kind of. Let me interject here and point out that this is the handiwork of one ZDT, who has been attacking many content creators from SPTV, the Aftermath Foundation, and myself. Even after I was made aware that ZDT was behind all this, I didn't scurry over to the site to see if I needed to delete anything. It never occurred to me that there would be anything there that I would think differently about, and I knew I hadn't posted anything that could be perceived as offensive. I was wrong. His goal is to divide us, and whether I'm a part of SPTV or not going forward, it breaks my heart to know that he's having any success. To further muddy the waters, apparently if you make a comment on a comment from a post, that post will appear in your timeline as if you endorse it. It's not top-notch technology, so I don't know exactly. But apart from that, I have reason now, just today, to think that at least one other post has been fabricated, and who knows if that's been circulated widely. I was sent something that had a shot of something that I absolutely didn't post. I don't need to go look for it because I didn't post it. If I had a pair of scissors and a copier, I could have created what was sent to me, so there's that. So here we are. I've spent a year of my life, and I mean 7 days a week, from about 4 p.m. my time until midnight every single day, on a volunteer basis, mind you, doing my level best to create an environment where everyone is welcome and safe. If anyone can find, in maybe the 1,000 plus chats I've moderated, an instance where I've not done that, I'd like to see it. It's been my mission to try and personally welcome every single username that I can tag. I do this because I modeled my moderating on others, and I know that I always felt valued when I was tagged by name. Can I tell you how much work that is? Can I tell you how much work that is just on its own? LOL. You've all been around YouTube. That's not typical practice. I always wanted to make sure we weren't cliquey or exclusive to anyone. Dozens of you have emailed me with your personal issues, and I make sure that I take time with everyone, and there are many of you who I've gotten to know very well, and all of you I cherish. This is another hour of my day spent. She's blaming the recipients of the email. This is another hour of my day spent, all in an effort to maintain our community as a caring place. What a burden. Part of what I always thought our community was about was forgiveness. Not an easy thing. This is something I know quite a bit about. People are not perfect. I almost never talk about this, but my childhood, oddly otherwise quite lovely, was one of ongoing SA. The perpetrator is no longer living, but I was at his bedside when he died, so I'm saddened beyond expression to see how eager a few of us have been to kick me to the curb. If that's what we do, I really had everything all wrong. Even on that rare occasion that I've had an issue with someone in the chat, I went far out of my way to fix it. I chose not to take the extreme action of banning without hearing that person out outside of chat. I have forgiven some crap, LOL. So this is me pouring it out for you and asking forgiveness from you, all of whom have a special place with me. I guess that about sums it up. Fortunately, so far from who I've heard from, it's been supportive and forgiving, but it's up to the content creators and I guess everyone else to determine where it goes from here and to decide for themselves where they stand. Your Goldie. So I felt the need to break this email down in a way that I sincerely hope we in the SPTV community are all familiar with, which is by using Dr. Stephen Hassan's BITE model of authoritarian control, the pillars of which being behavior control, information control, thought control, and emotion control. And instead of going line by line through this letter from Goldie that could literally be a page out of a cult memoir, I'm just going to read the bullet points that I made when analyzing it from that point of view. Behavior control. In the email, Goldie attempts to control the narrative by providing her version of events and framing herself as the victim of circumstances. She portrays herself as someone who is willing to take corrective action, such as removing certain posts in an attempt to control the community's perception of her behavior. She emphasizes her dedication and volunteer work within the community to establish credibility. Information control. Specific details about the offensive posts she shared are withheld, creating a lack of transparency. After deleting hundreds of posts from her profile, Goldie suggests that her limited use of the Gab social media platform led to her unawareness of the content she shared. She places blame on another individual, ZDT, implying that external factors influenced her behavior. Thought control. Goldie seeks to influence the community's perception of her by emphasizing her dedication and positive intentions. She portrays herself as a champion of inclusivity, reinforcing her image as a caring and forgiving person. Goldie shares her personal experiences, such as childhood trauma, to gain understanding and forgiveness. The kicker to me is the emotion control in this letter, and it's the reason that I was shaking. I was so triggered. Emotion control. By using language like the current flap in the subject line, Goldie sets the tone of the email before it's even opened. She uses that to emphasize her ties to the SPTV community, making her appear as an insider who knows the community's unique culture and language. Emotional language is used throughout to elicit sympathy and support from the community. The responsibility for her actions is subtly and not so subtly placed on the community by highlighting potential consequences of her departure. And by expressing her attachment to the community and its members, Goldie encourages emotional bonds. All of these are Cult Leader 101. And I guess I compiled this because I don't want to see it get to that point with Goldie and anyone. Also, I needed to get this out of my system because it has been causing me so much stress and anxiety the past several months, because I have not wanted to share this information because I didn't believe it and I didn't want to believe it. And then once I couldn't not believe it any longer, I wanted to believe that she had changed and that she didn't actually believe these things. And I tried really hard to absolutely give her every single benefit of doubt while also covering my bases. And in covering my bases, unfortunately, what I found was extremely disturbing, and she continues to lie about it, and she is continuing to lie about it right now, which is the only reason that I made any of this public. And I knew that if I made any of it public, I had to make all of it public. So there it is. I hope this didn't ruin your day. Unless you're Goldie, then I really, really hope it ruined your day.